Let me begin by saying, I wasn't trying to time travel. I was just trying to fix my shower. It all started when I, Gregory Q. Jensina, 29-year-old part-time barista, full-time procrastinator, decided to finally fix the weird hissing noise coming from the shower head in my apartment. Now, to be clear, I know nothing about plumbing, or tools, or common sense apparently. I had YouTube playing on my phone, a wrench in one hand, and absolutely no idea what I was doing. But I was determined. I got this, I muttered, twisting a rusted valve that looked like it had last been touched during the Cold War. Boom. There was a flash of light, a zap, a noise that sounded like an angry toaster, and suddenly, I wasn't in my bathroom anymore. I was in a field, a giant, wide, medieval-looking field full of sheep, suspiciously large insects, and an old man with a beard that could legally qualify as a carpet. He looked me up and down. "You've arrived!" he shouted, arms raised in a mix of joy and arthritis. "The chosen one." I said, still holding my wrench and dripping shampoo. A crowd began to gather. I had landed, if you can believe it, in the middle of a peasant village festival, where everyone was playing games like Throw the Turnip and Try Not to Die from the Cheese. I turned in place, wondering if I'd accidentally walked onto a Renaissance Fair cosplay meetup sponsored by Hallucinations. A boy poked my leg. "Are you a wizard?" "Only on Tuesdays," I said without thinking. The crowd gasped, then cheered. I was hoisted into the air by burly villagers who smelled like soup and regret. "All hail the shampoo-scented sorcerer," someone shouted. "Wait," I yelled. "I think there's been a mistake. I'm just Greg, from apartment 2B. I don't even separate my laundry properly." But it was too late. I had been declared King Gregory the Moist because my hair was still wet. They didn't waste time. By sunset, I was dressed in a tunic made of questionable goat leather, standing atop a wooden platform with a crown made entirely of spoons. There was a choir of flatulent flutes. Someone juggled potatoes in my honor. Beside me stood my royal advisor, a man named Wendell, the Mostly Awake, who wore a monocle made from the bottom of a bottle and spoke like a Shakespearean actor with a sinus infection. "We have waited long, O drippy majesty," he said. "The prophecy foretold of your coming a man from the land of tiles and steam, bearing the wand of wrench." "You mean this thing?" I held up my Home Depot wrench. The crowd bowed. I suddenly felt very underqualified for royalty. "But listen, Wendell," I said. "I really shouldn't be king. I mean, I've literally eaten spaghetti straight from the can." "That is most kingly," he said, nodding solemnly. At that point, a llama walked by wearing a cape. "That's Stephen," Wendell said. "He's your royal mount. He bites nobles who displease you." Stephen spit on a nobleman and stole his hat. "I like him already." That's how long I had to prove myself as a rightful king of Gregonia. Let's be clear, I had been a king for about 4 days total. 3 of those were spent either screaming, running from cabbage-related mobs, or making questionable policy decisions like installing a royal ball pit. The 4th was mostly nap time. Yet now, I was expected to complete ancient trials designed by the ancestors. I suspected those ancestors were either pranksters or extremely bored. Wendell, the Mostly Awake, stood before me in his usual half-button robe, holding a scroll so long it needed its own support animal. He cleared his throat. "The royal trials," he intoned, "are a sacred rite by which the chosen one must demonstrate bravery, wisdom, creativity, balance, gastrointestinal endurance, and at least one dance move." "Dance move?" I repeated. "Preferably interpretive." Great. My legacy would be interpretive panic. The townsfolk had gathered in the village square, chanting something like, "Greg, Greg, he's slightly damp and vaguely majestic." Banners waved. Drums beat. A goat was already chewing on the trial schedule. "Let the trials begin," Wendell declared. Trial 1. The Gauntlet of Mild Peril. I was led to a series of obstacles that included walking across a pit filled with lukewarm pudding, dodging, swinging sacks of flour, and solving a riddle from a guy named Lester, who insisted he was part gnome. "Here is your riddle," Lester said, raising a single eyebrow and sipping soup for dramatic effect. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, and eats cheese in the bathtub? I blinked. That's not how the riddle goes. It is in Gregonia, he said. After several awkward guesses, a crab with dreams, my Aunt Sheila, and Carl the swamp monster's weird cousin, I gave up and offered Lester a chocolate chip scone I'd forgotten in my robe pocket. He burst into tears and declared me a genius. Trial passed. Trial 2. The Joust of Unreasonable Heights. This involved riding Stephen, my royal llama, up a wooden ramp stacked precariously on barrels, then jousting with pool noodles dipped in glitter. My opponent was Sir Barnaby the Bold, a knight who had never actually won a joust but once arm wrestled a goose into submission. We clashed in slow motion, Stephen groaning the entire way while I screamed, "For the spoon crown," and accidentally slapped myself with the noodle. The villagers went wild. Stephen tripped, rolled, and landed dramatically on a haystack shaped like a muffin. I landed in a wheelbarrow of pickles. A child shouted, "That was the best thing I've ever seen," and handed me a sticker that said, "One King." Trial passed. Trial 3. The Great Debate. I was seated on a debate stage across from Carl the Swamp Monster, who had surprisingly returned in a custom suit and monocle. The topic: should all citizens have access to magical bread that screams encouragement? Bread should never talk, Carl said firmly. Ion